Talagang napakaganda ng upuan niyo hindi umiinit no? Anyway, dito po tayo sa ating homiletics and the art of public speaking. So, as what we have tackled last time, we have decided that the technique that we are going to go through in this subject is that which will make homiletics and public speaking use just one technique, and that is where they are identified with each other in the common approach. So to review what we have discussed last time, we will be focusing on the so-called persuasive style of delivering our speech material, whether it is a sermon or whether it is a secular speech. So you also have arrived to the point that there are three basic elements of sermon preparation and delivery, as well as speech preparation and delivery. And that is to deliver a preparation that involves the three parts or the three basic elements, which is the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And we also have taken or treated the question as to what will be the right sequence of preparing our speech. Some say that it starts with preparing the introduction. Some say that it starts with preparing the body. Others say that it starts with the conclusion. And still, there were many opinions with regards to where we are going to start. Well, the truth of the matter is that where you are comfortable with, that is where you are going to start. If you're comfortable of starting with an introduction, well, you must be so crafty. You must be so skillful that you can introduce something that you don't have. And that's great. Well, that's your style. That's your method. That is what you are comfortable with. To introduce something that you do not even know yet. That's remarkable, incredible. And I should say, as I have said, you really must be skillful enough or simply clever or crafty that you can introduce something that you do not know yet. Some say that, well, as I said, you can start where you are comfortable with. If you are comfortable with starting with introduction, then go ahead. That's your style. If you're not comfortable with starting with the introduction because you have nothing to introduce in the first place, then you start with the body. So starting with the body, maybe what is comfortable with you, so that you have something to introduce to. So you start with the body. We divide the body into several parts, and the basic is to divide the body into 3 parts. Again, if you are comfortable with it, then go ahead. That's your style. That's your method. That is where you are comfortable with. And if you think that you are comfortable with starting with the conclusion, then go ahead. That's your style. That's your method. That is where you are comfortable with. Just like the introduction and the conclusion, you are really indeed incredible, so skillful, that in the first place, you can introduce something that you don't know. And you are concluding on something that you do not know yet. This is because you're starting with the conclusion. You are really as incredible as what you are doing, because you can start with an introduction and nothing to introduce with. You can start with a conclusion of something you do not know yet. You are indeed incredible. You're awesome. You're amazing. Simply amazing. Well, that's your style. As I said, that's your method. And if you are comfortable doing it, then go ahead. Then we ask, what really is the right way of starting in the preparation of a sermon or speech? Now, before I introduce the steps, I would like to assure you, you do not have to debate with me. You do not need to argue with me, because in the first place, I have already given you the go signal that you can start where you are comfortable with. That you can start with points that you want to stress, whether it is introduction, whether it is body, and whether it is a conclusion. So I don't want to argue with you. I don't want to even persuade you or convince you in this particular speech preparation or sermon preparation. However, I am going to introduce something, as I have previously mentioned in our previous discussion, that I'm going to introduce to you something that is in the pattern of salesmanship that involves persuasion in accordance to the need of your audience, or in salesmanship to the need of your prospect. And in this particular subject that we have, the need of your audience, which is in comparison equivalent to the prospect in salesmanship, clients in some ways, or simply an audience to speak to. So then I'm going to reiterate or perhaps review the meaning of salesmanship. Because in this particular method that I'm going to introduce, I'm going to introduce something which we call, first, we may term it as a sales speech. Sales speech. When we speak about sales speech, in our common usage and our common expression, sales speech is simply a sales talk. They are going to deliver a sales talk. What is the purpose of a sales talk? To convince or to persuade somebody to buy your product. So that is sales speech. I mean, the spelling is S-A-L-E-S, sales. The pitch is P-I-T-C-H, pitch. So yung sales pitch, hindi yung sales and speech. You might misunderstood my, let's say, terminology. So sales and pitch. We commonly understand it in our simple and everyday usage. In salesmanship, it is called sales talk. Again, why do you do the sales talk? So that your prospect will buy your product. So we'll make this comparison in order to make our subject more comprehensive, easy to understand, and that we will be able to apply it in our practice of doing speech or doing sermons. Okay, so I have mentioned about the salesmanship. Now, I would like to make the comparison. I have mentioned to you the elements in salesmanship. I mean, the so-called professional salesmanship, not the piddling, not the begging, because there is bigger salesmanship, there is piddling. There are many ways, but they are not professional ways. So what I'm talking is professional salesmanship. Now, in professional salesmanship, there are a few elements that we need to take note. And literally speaking, you should take notes. You should take notes because I'm sure that I'm going to give this in a quiz or in the exam. So literally speaking, as I said, take note of these elements and really take notes. As what my professor in college have always reminded me or reminded us that he said, your worst notes are better than your best memory. Again, your worst notes are better than your best memory. So please take notes. Number one element in professional salesmanship, and I have to emphasize on this because we are going to compare salesmanship and public speaking. Okay, number one element in salesmanship is never forget the element of personal projection. Personal projection. You have to project yourself. In speaking, you have to make it appear that you are authoritative, that you have the authority to speak on matters. So, in salesmanship, projection of yourself is very important because in psychology of salesmanship or in the psychology of marketing, the so-called packaging is very important. Why? People does not so much pay on the quality of the product, but rather they pay on the quality of the packaging. Do you agree on that point? That sometimes we, the consumers, would take a look on that package. How is it packaged? So even if the product is not so very effective, or even if it is not effective, but when it is packaged in a very beautiful and attractive way, we buy the product. Because in the psychology of selling or the psychology of marketing, people buy on the package. I mean, rather on the packaging. How does the product come to us? Say, for example, Filipino barong. If you just buy from the Visoria, from Baclaran, you can buy a Filipino barong in just 1,800, 2,000, 2,500. But if you are going to buy it from SM with improved quality of displaying it in their booth, it appears with a higher value. So what you can buy in Baclaran and the Vistoria, you can buy it in SM for almost twice or thrice the price as you can buy it in the Vistoria or in Baclaran. The same quality, different tickets, different brand, the same material, different branding. The same coffee, and some coffee are even lesser in quality than what is being sold in some other markets. But because of the packaging, beautiful packaging, and being sold by a prestigious multi-level marketing, then you buy. You ba? I'm not going to stress so much on the packaging, but that is very important. Who you are as you appear before the public determines so much the success of your speech or a sermon, because people will establish their confidence on the credibility of the speaker based on the packaging, on the way how one projects himself. So the first element that you should consider is the packaging in a certain product. And when we apply it in our delivery of a speech, how you project your personality depends so much on the success of your speech. But it does not just depend on the package. I mean, rather, the packaging. You have also to prove that, well, you look authoritative, pero magkakaalaman yan pagdating sa laman. Mamaya. Okay. Pero, do not discount the importance or the value of projecting oneself. Now, have you visited the supermarket? And visited these areas where you can buy clothes, you can buy jeans, you can buy pants, branded pants. How does the sales girls, how does the salesmen look like? We call it in the company as the merchandisers. But in the common use in the marketplace, they call it promo girl, promo boys. In an elevated terminology, they call it as promodizers, making it appear as if, let's say, I can find the term, but something like if it is a certain product, it's elegant, the elegant way of describing these people. How do they look like? How do they look? Do they look sipunin? Have you observed? They're beautiful. I was a marketing officer of a multi-million company, and our brand was the Michel Andre. Have you ever bought a clothing, a men's clothing with the brand Michel Andre? I was once the marketing training officer for the promodizers. They are beautiful. They are handsome guys. Why? In the selection of hiring promodizers, personality is one of the several qualifications. How do they look? Why? Because the promodizers, these sales ladies, will add quality to the product that we have displayed. And our product is not just something that is of cheaper prices. Our barong costs 4 to 5 times than the barong that are being sold in Divisoria and Baclaran. And we do not display in ordinary malls. We display in Landmark, in SM, and some other prestigious malls and outlets. Because our prices have targets, like foreigners. And foreigners often visit Landmark. So that is how important is packaging. So how do we look like? We will not be handsome in the sense of how we look with our faces, but we must be able to project a personality that looks authentic, authoritative, because we are going to deliver a product that is so valuable. So that is the first element. Now, when you stand in the pulpit, let's do this in a cyclical way. We mention salesmanship, then we mention the preaching and the delivery of a speech. When you stand in the pulpit, how do you look like? Have you considered your personal projection? Do you wear long sleeve with corbata, or we call it as necktie? Do we wear suits? Do we wear barong? Or do we simply wear a jejimon? Is it a jejimon? Okay. So that's one point. Projection. Okay. The next point, or the next element, which is very important in salesmanship after the packaging, is the product itself. The packaging is the way how the product is wrapped up, but how about the product itself? So the second element is the quality of the product. When we speak of the quality of the product, we are talking about how effective it is. Is it really, or does the product really live with the with the claim. Say, for example, a health product. Of course, when we talk about supplements, food supplements, there are claims. And of course, usually, and not only usually, it always, most of the time, if the product supplement cannot be prescribed by a licensed physician, it has the label no therapeutic claims. But actually, it is just a formality according to the law, because that is what the law requires. But even if the product is labeled no therapeutic claims, all the sellers claim that it is therapeutic, that it can cure, it can treat particular diseases or say illnesses. So that is what it is. So what is the claim? Does the claim proves, rather does the product proves the claim to be true? So that is the quality, if it is really effective. Say, for example, you are selling, of course, we will not go far. We will not go far. Just something that is around us, this so-called 3-in-1, 9-in-1 coffee. And they say that it boosts the immune system. But does that really boost the immune system? Have you tried it? Did you feel good? So the product or the quality of the product itself. Now, let's go around and compare it to your sermon or to your speech. Is the idea that you are projecting delivered with good quality? Or your product in terms of ideas or the points of your sermon, the points of your speech, are they coherent? Are they logical? Are they meaty? In other words, malaman. That makes up the quality of your product. That makes up the quality of your message, the quality of your sermon, as to whether it is logical, coherent. Diyan magkakaalaman. Gwapo nga, maayong pagkabarug sa pulpito. But when the product is delivered, it is less, or it is of low quality. So the second element is the product. Paghahambing natin, yung po ang message itself. Yung po ba'y malaman o mayroon lang palaman? So we have to think about it. So, the product is equivalent to the idea. The product is equivalent to the message. Whether in a sermon or in your public speech. So, what is your idea? What is your product? Is it of good quality? Granting. We'll just use the word granting that the product is of good quality. The product is good. The idea is good. The message is good. That is what we want to establish. But the question is, does the customer or does the prospect need your product? Because if your prospect do not need the product, of course he will not buy your product. He will not buy into your idea. So even if he is convinced that your product is good, he cannot be persuaded to buy it. Why? He's only convinced. Magandang product mo eh. No? Palagay ko, effective yun eh. Para sa ano ba yan? Ay talagang maganda ito, kapatid. No? Kasi po, pag ikaw ay ano dito, eh, talagang gagaling ka sa iyong diabetes. Sabihin na lang natin kung ang claim nagpapagaling. Na gagaling ka sa diabetes. Na talagang maganda nga. No? Kumbinsido ako, maganda eh. No? Maganda pa yung pagkagawa ng pagka-deliver ng product knowledge. Pero kapatid, wala naman po akong diabetes eh. Sa iba na lang. So, what's the point, guys? Brothers and sisters, no? You projected yourself rightly. The packaging is very attractive. The product is very convincing. But your prospect will not buy because he does not need the product. Let's bring it to your sermon. Ang ganda ng barong eh. No? Mamahalin. 7.5 or 5.7. Ang ganda pa ng, sabi pa sa Bisaya, pagkanindot sa hapay sa buhok. Talagang kung sa una pang panahon, pamada eh. Nakapamada eh. Ngayon hindi na pamada. Anong tawag nito? Ano nga yung inilalagay sa, ano ngayon? Buhok?
Gatsby, Dok. Gata sa lubi.
Okay, Gatsby. Gatsby? Ano yan? Gatsby? Okay. Gel. No, gel. Gel, ay talagang ano eh. Nako. Pag-deliver. Granting na lang. Ang ganda ng ano eh. Ang ganda ng may exegetical approach pa eh. No? Mayroon pang pa context, no? Pag inano mo, talagang akong ano eh, talagang magandang delivery, gandang product. Eh. Ito po mga kapatid, no, according to the context, larger context, at kung ano pang mga context doon eh, no? And according to Tyer's lexicon, according to Strong, ganda talaga ng pagkagawa ng sermon. Yung pala, hindi yun ang message na kailangan niya. Sayang, no? He will not buy into the product kasi hindi po siya diabetic eh, no? Ang product mo pang diabetic. So first, packaging. Second, the quality of the product. Third is it caters to the need of the prospect or your customer. So then, he can be persuaded. You can convince, but you cannot necessarily persuade. Not until he needs your product. So this is what we are going to focus on developing. As I said before, there are many sermon styles or there are many ways to create your messages, to develop your messages, textual. We have exegetical, expository, topical. There are many, but we are going only to focus on the way that a sermon or a public speech should be done so that from the point of view of salesmanship, we can do the sales talk with such an ability in order to persuade somebody to buy your product or idea according to what, everybody?
Needs.
Needs. Huwag niyong kalimutan. Everybody say needs.
Need.
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 Need. Okay?
Needs.
So, kung wala yung need na yon, ay sayang yung sales talk eh. No? Okay, so yun po ang mga napaka-importanting elemento. No? Packaging, quality, and need. Okay, next Sunday, next Sunday, yes, next Sunday, we are going to focus on this so-called APSA way, the APSA way of preparing your sermon or your speech that will make use of the important elements called projection, message, and the need for that message. God bless po. Meron po tayong natitirang ilang minutes. If you have questions, you can ask. If you have no more questions, rather if you have no questions, not no more eh, wala pa nang tanong eh. Okay, so harap naman tanong eh. Hindi pala pwedeng magsabing no more. So maraming salamat at walang tanong. Pwede na po tayong
Thank you, Doc. Maraming salamat.
mag-evaporate. Thank you very much. We may now evaporate and vanish
Thank you, Doc.
until next Saturday.
Okay.
From 6
Line.
o'clock, huwag malilate mga kapatid eh. Kasi si Ma'am Lea magbibigay ng malaking points. Ano yan eh. Talagang pampasa yung points na yan eh. No? Sa 6 o'clock in the evening. No? 6 to 10 tayo for the fast trackers. The students for certification only, they can stay up to 10 also, or they may just choose the 6 to 7. You will notice that our studies are focused on chaplaincy, and on Sundays 9 to 2 o'clock is still focused on chaplaincy, because we have designed the fast track program for the Bachelor of Theology graduates. Then we ride on the program, especially those who have started in the early part of March or April. They can ride on, so that they can graduate this December, and completing the 9 levels of certification, they will be ordained as chaplains, because ito po yung ano talaga natin kailangan ngayon, no? Kailangan natin. Hindi kailangan nating ma-ordain. That's just a bonus. Hindi dahil kailangan natin ng tsapa. It's just a bonus. Kailangan talaga natin ng chaplains, mga kapatid. So, I will not say invite pa more para sa fast track. I would say invite pa more to join the regular track. Kasi po, ang fast track is too close at nakaka-stress yung bayaran eh, no? No? Aminin mo lang natin, nakaka-stress talaga yung bayaran. Bayaran. Pangit naman pala yung bayaran sa Tagalog, ano? Bayarin. Pasensya na po, ito yung Tagalog ko ay ano lang, hiram lang eh, no? Hindi pala bayaran, bayarin. Kasi yung bayaran, iba yun eh, no? Yung bayaran ay parang ano eh, ang ibig kong sabihin niyan sa Tagalog ay katulad ng mga mabababa lang ang lipad ng kalapati, yun, bayaran yun. Ang fees pala, ang tawag doon is bayarin, no? Minsan na ano ako dyan eh, no? Kasi nabibisaya natin eh. Pag bayaran sa Bisaya, okay yan, no? Bayaran, no? Actually, in Bisaya, bayranan. Eh, kung minsan tinatagalog natin yung Bisaya, nagiging bayaran, no? Eh, hindi pala yun ang Tagalog. Bayranan pala sa Bisaya is pag tinagalog mo ay bayarin na, no? Ganon talaga yung ano, yung kung minsan ay nahirapan tayo sa kalisod, no? Sabi pa na aking kaibigan, talagang pinawisan ako ng maraming singot. So, yan po guys, mga kapatid, no? So tayo po ngayon ay ilan ba tayo, no? Parang konti na lang, no? Nabibilang na lang sa mga ano.
Dok, 45 Dok.
45. Kanina parang umabot ng 57, no? Okay. Kasi yung iba ay may mga appointments, may mga Bible studies, may iba naghahanda sa crusade, no? So we cannot expect everyone to be present na sabay-sabay. Pag pumapasok sila, yung iba naman, hindi pumapasok. So, ayun po mga kapatid. Now, next Sunday, we'll go through the 4 parts of creating or formulating, or let us say developing the persuasive speech or the persuasive sermon. 4 parts lang, ang bilis, ang dali lang kasi 4 parts na lang. Then we will also discuss ano ba talaga ang dapat unahin, no? Conclusion, body, introduction. So, yun po ang ating dilemma. But as I said, you can decide for yourself kung anong unahin mo. Basta ang importante yung 4 parts ng persuasive speech or sermon ay nandoon. Okay, shall we bow our heads for prayer with Brother Rodel Giba? From Sorsogon.
Yes, Doc.
Parang okay, Brother Rodel?
Sige po, tayo po ay manalangin. Ama naming banal na nasa langit, may dalang ng langit at ng lupa, maging ang aming buhay at pananampalataya. Salamat po sa buong maghapong ito na nagkaloob niyo sa amin. Karunungan na amin pong nalaman mula sa amin pong mga propesor. Salamat po sa patnubay ng banal na espiritu na nagbibigay sa amin ng unawa sa bawat isa, lalo na po sa aming mga propesor, upang ituro rin po sa amin at ito rin po ay aming magamit sa aming paglilingkod sa inyo, Ama. Dalangin po namin ang patuloy na pagpapala na maranasan ng bawat isa, kagalingan po sa aming mga karamdaman.
Amen.
At patuloy po na pagpo-provide ng aming mga pangangailangan sa araw-araw naming pangangailangan, Ama. Kayo po ang source ng aming buhay, nagbibigay ng lakas, karunungan, upang malampasan po namin ang mga subok ng buhay namin nararanasan samantalang kami po ay nag-aaral. Aming dalangin, Panginoon, na ang iyong pangunguna, aming gabay sa araw-araw upang maranasan namin ang tagumpay ng aming pakikipagbaka sa sanlibutan ito. Sabi pong samantalang paghiwa-hiwalay, dalangin po namin at paunin namin ang inyo pong mayamang pag-iingat sa bawat isa, sa bawat tahanan, bigyan ng kapayapaan at mapayapang pagtulog ang bawat isa ngayong gabi upang kami po ay magising, may lakas, taglay ang buhay na mula sa inyo, Panginoon. At taglayin namin ang liwanag, katotohanan na aming natanggap buhat sa inyo. At ito rin po ay aming maibahagi sa iba. Patawad po sa aming mga pagkukulang, pagkakasala. Inihiling po namin ang lahat ng ito sa banal na pangalan ng aming Panginoong sa Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very
Amen.
much, Brother Rodel.
Amen. Amen.
At
Amen.
para sa ating mga Alpha 23, yung mga prospective professors at mga would-be professors na interesado, you can join our workshop. Mag-start po tayo 8 o'clock mga kapatid. Kain po muna. No, kain po muna tayo. 8 o'clock po yung start ng workshop. and see you, because I'm going to discuss the making of the syllabus and also the modules. Okay, so assignment, kung meron pa kayong panahon, what are the parts of a syllabus? Then, yung module, hindi ko na i-assignment kasi we'll be following the Raja model of creating the module. Pero yung syllabus, ay i-search niyo mga kapatid dahil mayroon po yung basic format how to create a syllabus. Hindi pala syllables. Syllables ba sinabi ko? O syllabus? Okay. So, see you at 8 o'clock, professors. God bless.
Thank you so much, Doc.